Greetings, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. I am a journalist, which means I am naturally skeptical. You should have not just one source or two sources or three sources. Ideally, I want my students to have five sources. Primary sources, secondary sources. Basically, people verifying the same information. Well, when one thing happens to one person, you just have that one person's perspective. And you might be skeptical. You might think they're lying to you. You might think they're exaggerating something for clicks. So if I was you and I saw a YouTube title for a video like I'm about to show and talk about, I would be skeptical too. And if you don't believe me, hey, I would not believe me either. I can't even believe this happened. I am saying this because I had over 2,100 live streams in my arsenal. And I have had some crazy things happen on my broadcast. Everything from watching the game crash that we play on this channel and not ever come back. So much internet crashes that we've lost count, but most importantly, I tend to feel a little loose sometimes, and I'm 36 years old now, so if I want to have a glass of wine and say cheers to my amazing subscribers, then I'll do it, you know? Never had anyone worry about me ever on a live stream, and I've done a 24-hour straight stream where I was up like 10 hours before that, so technically I was up for 34 hours straight. Almost killed me, would not recommend it. It took me 2 days to recover, but even in that broadcast, no one worried about me. But on Tuesday night, I was thinking before the live stream, and it kind of set the tone for my mental state, how thankful I was that I got to do YouTube. Because I was a kid growing up that was like Rocket Raccoon, the baby version, the unnamed version from the new Guardians. Well, I guess it's the old Guardians now, but technically the newest Guardians 3, where if you haven't seen that movie, there's a guy that just really wants friends. But I asked 2 years straight of pre-K and kindergarten for friends to hopefully say yes to my hope that I would walk up to people and say, please be my friend. And I got 0 for 20. Imagine you just want to have friends and no one wants it. And your brain is trying to process all of that rejection, and it is crashing. And I kept thinking, but I have so many great thoughts. We could do this and this and this, but how do you sell yourself when you've never had friends? So I would come home and I would just wonder, am I ever going to have any friends? So to go from that to having a YouTube channel that maybe there's quite a few people, maybe not, who clicked on this video who've never seen one of my videos, I am what I would call a generous now D-list YouTuber. I'm not saying that to be mean, but I'm a D-list YouTuber, and this is where it's cool, with A-plus list generosity of supporters. I've got like 100 people on this channel that give more to this channel than 1,000 people give to other channels. And I don't know why, other than the fact that they might believe in the fruits of the Spirit, meaning kindness, joy, empathy, love, self-control. And I'm sure others I'm too tired to name, but you get the idea. Being a good person is not easy, because being a jerk is fun. And that is why the algorithm now on social media promotes hatred, anger, and dunking on people. You have a whole generation of young people who are now waking up and checking their phones to see what they can get mad at, because that releases the dopamine. And not all dopamine is created the same. And yet the brain can get tricked into thinking it does. That's why, in the moment, a McDonald's double quarter pounder with cheese, shout out, not a sponsor yet, tastes way better than a bag of baby carrots. Until, and this is where I'm going to quickly lose the sponsorship, until it kind of settles, or until you realize that your body can't really process it or absorb it, and you end up feeling lethargic, maybe guilty, maybe sick to your stomach. You had this temporary pleasure that turned out to be a lie to your body. And in that way, I thought that's how my whole life was going to go. And to set the context of this, before I ran away from home my senior year of high school to finish off at someone else's house because I felt like I was endangering myself and my family because of my single mom who was making less than $16,000 a year, trying to support 3 kids and taking her mental illness out on her kids because she wasn't properly medicated. It was not her fault. I do not blame her. We have healed. We're friends. She's an amazing woman. But there are kids out there watching this whose parents maybe choke them against the wall like I saw growing up. Or there are parents out there who tell their kids that they were happy until they were born. Things that, like, whoever says sticks and stones can break your bones, but words may never hurt me. Dumbest thing I've ever heard. That might as well belong in like the historical Hall of Fame of almost every eclipse that I've missed because the hype was bigger than the clouds. Not the best analogy, but you get the idea. Nevertheless, I used to run away from home, but I wouldn't run away for long. I would run away into the woods, and I would look up at the stars, and I would say, God, is my life supposed to just be to get abused and not have friends? Am I just going to be the kid that nobody wants to hang out because I'm too weird? If nobody wants to love me in this world, why am I here? So I tried to smother myself with a pillow, and I just felt a hand grab the top of the pillow and throw it off me. I've never said this to anyone, by the way. I'm actually very uncomfortable on talking about this on video, but I also feel compelled that no one would ever know unless I say it. And I believe everything I'm saying 100% is true, and I also believe it's probably going to sound crazy, and most people have a right to not believe me. Two things can be true at the same time. So, long story short, because I don't want to flex and sound like a grade A douchebag, but I went from being a runaway in high school that got no college scholarships at Missouri, with no car, no money, and no plan, took out $50,000 worth of student loans between my mom's name and my name, ended up paying it all back thanks to staying in school, getting straight A's and A minuses, which, by the way, fun fact, if you can go to a college that has straight A's that aren't plus or minus, you'll actually improve your grade. When my transcript went from 3.93 at Mizzou to a 4.0 at Oklahoma State, and it was just because the minuses went away because Oklahoma State didn't have them. And it makes it easier for professors to input grades. Go Pokes. All right, so back to the story. When I would look up, I would look at the stars. And if you haven't seen the New Mexico desert or the New Mexico mountain stars, and I believe the mountains are better because they're higher off the ground, so you're closer to them. Not by much, but by enough to notice. Try to look into those stars and not feel your soul glow like a Christmas tree. Try to look up at those stars and not feel a connection to every human being and animal that has ever wandered this planet and looked up at the same stars. It's what unites us as a people, no matter where we are, no matter who we are. And the beautiful thing about the light of stars is that it just exists to be beautiful. And anyone can look at them because they're God's free flex. They're the most amazing thing I've ever seen. God's like, hey, you think that new iPhone looks good? Come to New Mexico, to Ruidoso, New Mexico, and look up at the stars and see how much it would change your life. It will be so life-changing that you'll think, oh, that's why Prof. Hoff's so happy. He came from this place. It's America's friendliest mountain town full of superheroes that make nothing, and their lives are being destroyed by corporations that are coming in and buying up all the affordable housing for locals so they can flip it. And this is not unique at all to my hometown, but it's especially devastating when the town is the poorest and the tax rate is the highest. So I've started this foundation so that I can give all of my money back to my hometown. And I'm prepared to give as much as $30,000 of my money, which is almost half of the remaining amount of money to my name, to my town in the next couple of years in $100 increments. Because I'm sick and tired of people saying that you have to be rich to give back. $100 to a family that can't afford to eat out because the whole family together only makes $2,000 a month on minimum wage, and rent is $1,200 plus utilities and cable. What else? That's called survival. That's very, very close, dangerously close to homelessness. And so many people in my hometown, like so many others, are either homeless or near homeless status. So I want to give the wealth that I've been able to generate from playing a game and also from teaching college classes as a professional storyteller to my hometown of Ruidoso, New Mexico, because it changed my life and the New Mexico Stars gave me hope. So I promise this is going to come full circle. You just have to stay with me. I'm a professional storyteller, and I've been lecturing for technically, well, since 2007, which was over 15 years ago. So I want you to first imagine that you are stuck between, Well, Alamogordo and Roswell, New Mexico. Those of you who know, you know. You drive up through Tularosa, New Mexico, go by Bent. You drive up through Mescalero, and then all of a sudden you drive around the corner and you start to see pine trees on your left and right. But whatever, trees are trees. Just close your eyes for a second. And then when you open them, look at this. Look at this. Let's say it's February. Snow-covered mountain. The trees are glistening. There's no billboards on the mountain. There's no pollution on the mountain. It looks like it would have if Lewis and Clark ventured up to it. And yet it's very much in 2024 at the time of recording this, still the same mountain. As beautiful and breathtaking as Mother Nature can be. And that mountain is worth 1 billion priceless memories to locals in Ruidoso, New Mexico. And that's why they stay, because that mountain represents everything from gratitude to kindness to generosity. The 3 things that we need to promote, which is why I will be starting a charity YouTube channel. If you're just now joining me on this venture and think that I am somehow exaggerating how much I'm going to do, it's all in motion. You can try to stop it, but you can't contain it, unlike my very bad dad jokes on this channel. And ironically, I'm not a star, and yet the logo will be. This is the New Mexico Stars, courtesy of White Mummy on Twitter, the most talented graphic designer I have ever worked with, and I'm going to be promoting his work even though he seems to be uncomfortable when I give him money. He deserves it because he is truly an exceptional human being. So, you see this logo in the stars and you think, okay, I see the Prof. Hoff logo. I see that Sierra Blanca mountain. What's your point, man? Hurry up. Stop babbling. Well, just so happens that White Mummy in like one day came up with one of the most amazing designs I've ever seen. I saw this at like 3 a.m. and just cried. Look at that. Look at how beautiful that is. And look at the stars above Sierra Blanca, that beautiful mountain. This is the logo of my charity. It's about generosity, kindness, empathy, all the fruits of the Spirit. That Prof. Hoff Fruits of the Spirit Charity Foundation. That's going to be the name of it. Because I want the world to make kindness cool again. I want the world to make kindness something that is a random act that turns into cash. Sounds cool, but what do you mean? Well, let's imagine that you walk into a store and you see somebody that clearly is overwhelmed. They've got a baby in the cart, the shopping cart. Their shopping cart's full, and they just look tired. And you see that person that looks overwhelmed go help an elderly man get out of basically, because I've seen this before. This is actually a very specific hypothetical. I've seen an elderly man not be able to get out of the way of a cart because he was losing his balance, and somebody just grabs and catches him. And if you hadn't grabbed and caught him, maybe he breaks a hip. This guy looks like he's 90. Imagine the old man from Up. And all of a sudden you've grabbed him and you've kept him from falling. And just for a second he looks at you with this stare of thankfulness that you can't describe. And imagine that somebody saw that, walked up to that person and said, "That was incredible. Thank you for helping that man. I want to give you $100 off that grocery bill." In my hometown, that's like Jesus himself giving you a hug. But let's say you don't believe in Jesus. Okay, let's make it a little simpler. Do you believe in the stars? Do you think the stars are real? Can you disprove the stars? If you can, I would love to watch that YouTube video. And I'm not talking about one or two, because you see, the more the world creates stuff for itself, the more they block out God's stars. There are people here who are living in big cities who've never seen the New Mexico stars. You have not lived until you have seen the stars. And when you do, there ain't nothing like it. So imagine that you're so moved that you saw this charity in action that you donated $1. And the Bible says that some people who donate $1, that means more than people who donate $100 because they can't afford it and yet they do it. So it's not about the amount, it's about the action itself. So then you get taken to another hometown screen, probably a second tab now that I'm thinking of it on the website, and it says, "Thank you so much for investing in the local town of Reynosa, New Mexico. As a thank you for helping to create a spirit of generosity and keep alive a town that is truly America's magical secret. Not because it has racetracks and casinos and ski areas that most locals can't afford to do anything but work at, but because the locals have stayed because they love the stars and the mountain and the people that much. That is the land of enchantment at its finest." So imagine this, okay? Imagine all of this is in my head. I have only thought about this for 1 week at the time of recording this. For only about 1 week, God put it on my heart because I felt so grateful that I wanted to give my money back to my hometown and make kids' dreams come true. A lot of people watch Aladdin and they dream about being Aladdin or they dream about marrying Jasmine. I never did that. I dreamt about being the genie, not just because Robin Williams is the GOAT one-liner of all time, but also because he got to grant wishes and see people be happy with his own wealth. And I thought, I want to be the genie when I grow up. But I thought universal basic income, for those of you who know what that is, might have been the answer. But the problem with universal basic income is that it rewards people equally. So you can be that person that helps the grandpa from falling into the shelf, or you can be the person that pushes the grandpa into the shelf. Both of you get $100. That makes no sense. 0 sense. So if you only reward kindness and gratitude, you're actually rewiring the human heart, you're rewiring the human brain, and you're changing what goes viral on a YouTube channel. Because what I'm going to do then is I'm going to have my local school district, shout out Capitan, New Mexico, shout out Ruidoso, New Mexico, shout out Hondo, New Mexico, goes up, shout out Carrizozo, Tularosa, Castañon. Imagine all of the local towns near you, and those of you who know, are suddenly competing against one another to see who can do the most random act of kindness on video and submit it to the Prof. Hoff charity YouTube channel. Because the only videos on it, it's not going to be my face because my face is corruptible. I am a sinful human being that's made a lot of mistakes in his life, and I'll make more. It has to be a bat symbol. It has to be a bat symbol of greatness, which is why in the schools, you say, hey kids, go up against the other schools and see who can do the most random act of kindness. And every video that gets uploaded, every view is going to go toward putting money back into your own community. Kind of cool. Just for doing kindness, you're actually pumping 100%. 100%. I'm not keeping a penny. I am giving almost all the money I have left in my savings account to my hometown. This year and next year alone, I've earmarked about $30,000. Because if I died tomorrow, I wouldn't want it to be in my savings account. I'd want it to be in the pockets of people that gave my family that had nothing. A family, a single mom overwhelmed with triplets. I'm the shortest at 6'3". The other two are almost 6'6". People don't know how tall we are because on YouTube you're staring into a webcam. And she made nothing more than like $14,000 a year. Some years she made literally less than $1,000 for the whole year. We got paid by the government to live in government housing 1 month because I think her total income with the dependents on paper was worth like negative $85, which is truly the poorest thing anyone's ever said, at least that I know of. But I'm thankful that I was poor because I just prayed to the mountains to be a better person and to have hope. And the mountain community believed in me, and I ended up getting my high school valedictorian award, which propelled me to the University of Missouri, and the New Mexico work ethic propelled me, along with Missouri's incredible education, to Oklahoma State, where I became one of the youngest people in the history of the university to start, very controversially, as a college professor at 25 years old, even though I think some looked at me as being anointed, not appointed. I showed that I was a great storyteller that could get students excited to learn, and I can give you a lot of references of people who are thankful they took my classes. But that's not what's important. What's important is your name in the stars. Your name in the stars, because you are just as important to this charity as I am, the founder. If you donate $1, you will get a chance, because White Mummy's going to be amazing and send me the template, to have me put your name in stars and send you the high-res email back. I want you to print it off and frame it Talk about how much your life is represented in the stars of your eclectic constellation by the mentors who poured into your life. And I want you to think of at least 3 people, because the Prof stands for professor, and so you've got some homework. 3 people that you can think of that impacted your life. Everybody from high school janitors to teachers to maybe some family members you haven't thanked ever. And all I want you to do is contact them directly and say, thank you. You are a star in my night sky. You are a mentor in my eclectic constellation, and you burn bright. And you have to be specific, because most people get very uncomfortable when you thank them because they don't think they deserve it. Because gratitude is the ultimate form of love. Gratitude is such of the ultimate form of love. And by the way, once you've thanked 3 people, that's the charity. That's it. We're making kindness videos go viral, and the kindest act gets $100 for the student, and their teacher gets $100 of free school supplies. How cool is that? We've got small businesses that I've touched base with, taco trucks, breweries, restaurants that feed the community, $100 a month. The Kurt Warner playbook. When I was at Mizzou, I heard a story once that Kurt Warner, the NFL quarterback for then St. Louis Rams, was able to choose a table with his family and then give that family's check and never tell him. It was so badass. I thought, I want to be Kurt Warner someday. Well, I've never made more than 10% of what Kurt Warner made as a rookie, but I can give away 80% of my wealth because I just love the life that I've been able to live. At 36, I've raised $300,000 on YouTube playing video games. I have given away 80% of my wealth, including buying homes for my mom and my fiance. And most notably, I just feel overwhelmed that God chose me to start this charity, because there are so many stories in the Bible of people that feel imposter syndrome. And I felt imposter syndrome my whole life. But if you don't know my background, you just clicked on this video. I'm a triplet with a single mom who suffered from manic bipolar schizophrenia without being properly medicated for most of her life. And we lived off of nothing. Nothing. We walked to school. Our car had a hole in the window, so you had to cover it up with tape, one of those. And we had no college scholarships when I applied. So I took out tens of thousands of dollars of student loans just to step foot on campus to chase my dream of being the best storyteller possible. And now, instead of trying to put my story in lights, which is a very narcissistic thing to do, I want everybody to put their story in lights by being grateful for the people that made their name a constellation of mentors. And besides that, we're going to get the money that's raised from this, step 1, step 2, to feed people, to reward people for kindness, and to change the culture of YouTube itself by only watching videos with random acts of kindness. And it can be everything from what I've already said to actually helping a stray dog, eat something. If you saw an animal that needed some food, I'm not saying you should always feed stray animals, but if somebody's starving, you'd be amazed how many random acts of kindness go undone every day, because it's much easier when God emails, say, Gmail, Godmail, your brain, and says, hey, you should go help that lady across the street. The darkness is going to give you a junk email in your spam folder and say, ha ha, you should not do that. You should get that Groupon. No offense, Groupon. You're great. But you should get that Groupon instead to go drink. Again, I drink. I'm not saying you shouldn't. But what happens if you turn around to serve yourself versus serving someone else? Imagine what tree could have been planted in the world of gratitude that wasn't planted because you listened to the junk mail and not to God. All of this leads me to the finale of this video. Because on Tuesday night, just a few days after I had started thinking about how we need a charity that just gives cash to locals and doesn't have to worry about raising millions of dollars to make a difference. By the way, if you're clicking on this and you want to help me, I am trying to raise $15,000 to $20,000 a year so I can be a traveling monk and not spend any money on myself. I have all the clothes I'll ever need right now. And I know there are people who donate to me if I need it. I have both houses paid off. My car is paid off. My student loans are paid off. I have no debt. I just have about $20,000 worth of normal bills that adults have to pay, even if you have no mortgage. If I could just get that done, I would donate every dollar of my teaching salary to my hometown for the rest of my life. And that's about $4,000 a month, which means if someone covered $15,000 to $20,000 of my living expenses, I would donate $48,000 worth of my salary. I think that's kind of a cool deal. And you might be saying, Prof, what are you going to live off of, period? Well, my YouTube channel still makes about $1,000 to $2,000 a month. So I think I can live off $1,000 to $2,000 a month. If I'm in trouble, I'll pull from savings, but I'm not worried about that. I'd rather just be able to say I'm working my dream job for free and giving away my salary. That's all I want to do. And when I thought about that, you have to understand about 37 minutes, my brain, which in third grade, just to give you an idea of how my brain works, I was taking a gifted and talented test, and I was able to break the teacher's brain and say some non-family friendly words because I was only supposed to make it to page 2 of the test, which is the 5th grade level. I made it all the way past page 16, in which that poor student aid worker muttered some not so family friendly words because she had never seen someone do that. I got a perfect score on a college level analogy test by that page 16, starts at kindergarten probably. And I wanted more, but they ran out. I literally defeated the test. That's how fast my brain can connect things. It is a blessing and a curse. Some people's brains are a direct comet. Mine is like a scatter of stars that's constantly bouncing between ideas, interrupting itself, and sometimes talking over itself, which sounds like a stutter, which is what I just did. But at that moment, as I hide my webcam to end this, I almost started speaking what sound like tongues, because if you go to 37 minutes, and probably around 36 minutes, it's the Tuesday night MCOC Hangout stream number 2131. I start just saying every other word like a crazy person. I sounded insane because I was looking down. I wasn't looking at the game. My eyes were essentially almost closed because my brain was suddenly going 900 miles an hour with gratitude because I get to start this charity to hopefully heal the world. And I know that sounds narcissistic, but it's not about my name. I'm not even telling you my name in this. It's about the Prof. Hoff symbol of gratitude, generosity. You can throw forgiveness in there. The fruits of the Spirit. Look up the list of the fruit of the Spirit if you want to know the secret to what sounds like speaking in tongues. But for me, it was just every other word. But poor Mama Bear was trying to have a conversation with me over Skype, and I wasn't making complete sentences, which is why this is the first and maybe last time, who knows, that in over 2,100 broadcasts, I had multiple people reach out to Mama Bear, my co-host, and say, is Prof okay? Is he sleep deprived? Is he having a stroke? And the answer was, I was okay. I was technically sleep deprived, but I was full of gratitude and I was not having a stroke. I discovered at that moment every pattern that I had ever gone through. Every traumatic moment in my life led me to gratitude. And that's like having these dark, deep holes in your soul that are so painful because they're traumatic. They're PTSD. They're triggers. It's like taking all the triggers of your life and turning them into gold that you can give away to your hometown. And I am so thankful for everything I've been through. And I'm thankful that I love my family. I have the best family. I have the best friends. I have the best YouTube community. I am so blessed and so overwhelmed with gratitude that I found God's love. All of my life made sense on Tuesday night on a broadcast out of nowhere. That's what happens when you least expected. When it's least expected, it happens the most. If you watched every second of this video, thank you. I have always had people tell me that they just wanted me to make a 30-minute video just to see what would happen. I didn't think people would watch a 30-minute video, but this is also the most powerful and scary video I've ever made. And if you don't believe me, don't believe me. If I was you, I wouldn't believe me. I still am expecting to wake up. But every time I talk about this charity, people go, I can get behind that. I can get behind random acts of kindness, having teenagers hold open the door for people and be polite instead of film them dunking like ice cream cones on their heads or other terrible things. And let's be honest, why is there such a high rate of depression and suicide in young people, because all they look at all day when they wake up to when they go to bed is unrealistic body image, people hating each other, people dunking on each other, just people being mean to each other. It's the opposite of the fruits of the Spirit. It's the fruits of deceit. It's the fruits of what C.S. Lewis called in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, a kind of just imagine you are eating something, and no matter how much you eat it, you will never get full. He called it Turkish delight. I call that Chili's tortilla chips. But either way, when your soul is so filled with gratitude that you see why you went through everything in your life, you thought your life was just a bunch of random stars, but it's actually a constellation connected together because it all is a pattern. The craziest thing I learned in my epiphany, when my brain was going so fast that I was looking at a kaleidoscope and every little detail of the kaleidoscope was a different day of my life that connected together. If life was supposed to not make sense, if the human body was just random, memory wouldn't exist. There's a reason why robots can't have emotion. It's because you can only produce code. You can't produce the kind of inflection that a human being experiences when their soul speaks. You just can't. It's not possible, and hopefully it never will be. That is not a challenge, Satan. Not today, Satan. So, I get that if you don't believe this and you think I'm crazy, I would think I'm crazy. But I saw the pattern of my life, and I want to challenge everybody to realize, watching this, if you choose the light over darkness, if you choose your God mail, your Gmail, instead of your junk mail, if you choose light instead of hate, not only will your community love each other more, but you will love yourself more. In America, I'm sure this is true in every place on the globe. If my charity is successful, I want it to be replicated everywhere. I don't care what country, what city. And the amazing thing is, when you talk about warmth and light, that is not religious or political. And you can tell me that you don't believe in warmth and you don't believe in light. But quite frankly, I won't believe you.